Ugh. Oh, wow. My camera has 18% battery. Okay, anyway, so underwater. As it's all the letters are just shoved in on this thing. So underwater is what we're talking about today. Okay. Or in whatever, it shifted. Anyway, so was another like January dump of a movie, and I remember just being like, okay, it's a movie where they're underwater. Cool, monster stuff happens. Oh, Kristen Stewart is the main character. Oh no, man. And initially watching this movie, probably like the first half of the movie watching, I was feeling really cynical while watching it. Because I was like, while I'm watching it, I'm like, her underwater. Well, at least this is serious, unlike The Meg. That's immediately what I thought of. Just kind of like with Guns Akimbo, just like listing movies that reminded me of, because whatever. I'm at I'm at home, like I'm surrounded by movies. That's what it is. So I'm like, okay, cool. They're underwater. Then I'm like, oh my god. Remember Abyss? And I was like, man, Abyss is a really good movie. Like, while I'm watching it, I'm thinking this, like, I haven't watched Abyss in forever. And then I'm kind of like, okay, so Kristen Stewart's Sigourney Weaver now. She's got the shaved head, all that shit. You know, like, again, I'm being, like, the first third half of the movie, cynical as fuck. Like, okay, oh, she's Sigourney Weaver. Then it's like, oh, they found the creature thing. Because there's like a little creature thing under the water. Under the water. So that's English. Motorcycles. And I'm like, oh, remember the movie Sphere? Yeah. Yeah, that was a good movie. Like, I'm just thinking all these things. Like, get on. Like, I kind of had this very, like I said, cynical, like, I feel of, like, get on with it, all that stuff. And in all honesty, probably, like, halfway through the movie, I actually restarted the movie because I realized I was like, I really wasn't paying attention because the entire time I was just like thinking of other movies. So re-watching it, technically speaking, from the beginning, and then finally like the last half of the movie, it's actually not that bad of a movie. I feel like if I didn't have a moment to like that I snapped out of it and was like, okay, maybe I should just really really rewatch this movie and like watch it rather than just watching it and being like impress me, like that kind of stuff that I feel like a lot of like movie snobs pretty much do when they're watching a movie, where they're like, any movie that was made after 1995 or like any movie that was made like after 1999 sucks, like that kind of mentality that some of them have, which is just like, honey, you know. So after rewatching it, I'm like, okay, you know what? This actually isn't so bad. It's not so bad. It's all right, you know. And then you realize, like, you've got, technically there's a lot of really well-known people in the movie because you got Kristen Stewart, you've got T.J. Miller's in it, you've got what's his name, John Gallagher Jr. He was in like the Green Day Broadway play. He was in like Belko Experiment. He was in like a bunch of stuff. Was that Short Term 12? I think yeah, that was him. And then there was, what's her name, Jessica something. She played the fucking girl yep, that's it, the love interest in the Iron Fist show. She was also one of the pilots in the newer Star Wars. Also, she was considered to be Rey. That would have been awesome, but they wouldn't have allowed it because anyway, let's not go into that. So there's a pretty good chunk of like well-known people in that movie, and they're all young. I don't know where I'm going at with this. Anyway, so it was good because the French guy, it's not Gerard Depardieu, it's the French guy. He's in Westworld, the season 3. So anyway, I'm not making any goddamn sense. So like I said, I'm watching it and I'm enjoying it, and then once you hit like the third act, when like the monster stuff is revealed, you're like, oh, this is where we're going with this. Okay, and I'll go into spoilers in a bit, but like, yeah, it's again, it's not bad, it's not great. I feel like a lot of the movies that I'm watching during this time at home is not the best. Although I'm glad I haven't put on something fully shitty yet. I mean, I did watch a couple other movies that I haven't that I'm not gonna review, because it's like, am I really gonna review Extraction? Like, it's gonna be like, you know, a minute of me being like, you know, literally this is my review of Extraction. It's like, guns were fired, there was a 12-minute like one-shot sequence, Hemsworth exists, you know, like that's all it is. It's like things happened. Anyway, you know, like moving on. So anyway, I'm gonna go into spoilers because I'm just good. I'm literally dancing around it right now. So anyway, 1, 2, 3 spoilers. So again, to compare it to the movie, so kind of like with the movie Sphere, where there was like the little creature thing, but instead of it being like a manipulation thing, that in Sphere where like it made us think of this, and Samuel L. Jackson is controlling things and all that stuff. There, you know, like they're at the bottom of the sea of the Marinas Trench, so they're down there. It's, you know, all that. So it's the thing of like, what's at the bottom of the sea? Always like the craziest shit, you know, like you've never seen before, blah blah blah. So the movie starts off with like an earthquake that causes their shit to be broken, and then they just have to find a safe way. A lot of escape pods are being used, so they just have to find a way out. It's one of those movies. So they go to like, we're gonna walk the sea floor to this other station, da da da. And because it's one of those horror, sci-fi horror disaster films, yeah, obviously nothing goes right, you know. They walk, you know, someone gets dragged, so like, you know, little by little the team gets smaller and smaller as these things go on, you know. And so, you know, it's pretty much, that's how it is. It's like people keep dying, da da da. And once they get to, you know, the whole like, it makes me think of like Left 4 Dead, where it's like, you fight the things, then you're like, okay, cool, pills, you know, get all that. So they get to a spot, they get to like breathe, take off the helmets, you know, and then they go to like, they walk a little more, and they have their thing. And then little by little, obviously, again, the team gets smaller and smaller. So once, because again, also, the, you know, the seafloor, it's dark, so you can't really see much, and all that shit. So, you know, it's funny because this movie was available to be rented. I get it, you have a motorcycle and a tiny dick, Jesus. This movie was available to be rented on like super high def, da da da, which is funny because most of the time it's murky water. I'm like, I always rent standard because why? This was also on sale for like $3.99, so it was like even more worth, you know, the price. So, whatchamacallit, 12% battery. I'm like trying to talk even faster. So they get, anyway, so, you know, I know I'm already in spoilers, but pretty much, so the monster isn't just, you're thinking it's giant squid, you know, like what other crazy stuff is down there, you know, all that shit. And it's funny because I remember when the first, like when, well, not the first, you know, Pacific Rim, we don't count that second one, when Pacific Rim came out, and they were like, you know, the portal opened up, all that stuff. And I remember jokingly saying, like, what if Cthulhu came out? And it's funny because I watched, you know, Color Out of Space, and I'm a huge, you know, Lovecraft fan. And, you know, I've made works with Cthulhu on it. And this movie had Cthulhu in it. I was like, oh my God! Like, literally, I didn't give a shit about the movie. Like I said, halfway through, then I was like, ah, oh, come on. Like, I even got mad at myself. I'm like, right, I'm being way too damn cynical. I'm writing this off, like, way too much. I'm really just like, fuck you. When I rewatched it, I was like, okay. Now I'm caring more about the characters. Because before, I'm like, who's gonna die next? Like, I don't, you know, but, like, that's usually how I feel when I'm watching, like, the later Saw films, or the later, I almost said Final Fantasy, Jesus, Final Destination films, where you're just kind of like, bye. You don't care. You just want to see like the traps. You want to see the death kind of stuff. So, you know, once it's like revealed and like the light, like at the flare gun shit that, you know, Kristen Stewart blasts off and you see Cthulhu, I was like, yo, what the fuck? And I'm like, this is really about Cthulhu, you know? I was like, what? And it's not because it's Cthulhu, like I won my heart over and this gets 5 stars kind of thing. But I was just kind of like, okay, you know what? Yeah, and I also like that they didn't sequel bait this movie. Like, it was just like, you know, the you know, Kristen Stewart's character, like, she sacrifices herself, which I knew that was gonna happen, you know, because, again, thinking about, you know, Alien, and if she's, thank you, phone, if she's Ripley, with the head shaved, you know, falling into the shit, you know, yeah, so, you know, like, when it ended, and it was just the whole, like, oh, yeah, you know, the company is doing cover up and stuff. Like, okay, and then it just like ends. You know what I mean? It wasn't one of those like, what could, you know, like what could happen next? Or I guess, well, you can say it's sequel bait because then it said like, you know, one of the headlines was like, oh, the company's gonna that is deciding to drill again or something. I don't know. Like that doesn't count as sequel baiting. You know, like look at the last Airbender. But anyway, like again, like this movie was all right. It was all right. Like if you want, like if you want like a sci-fi horror disaster movie kind of thing, there, like $3.99, rent it. There you go. You got that movie. If not, obviously, you know, as I've said, Alien, the Alien series is always great to watch. Um, Abyss is amazing, you know. Sphere is another good one. Sphere has what's his name? Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone, Sam Jackson, Queen Latifah's in that. She's in it really quick, you know. But yeah, like yeah, if you want the other ones, then yeah, get those, watch those. But this is all right, and this was also like this movie was shot in like 2017 and didn't get dumped till now because I think this was a 20th Century Fox movie, and because of the shit with Disney, it took like now to be released, which also is like one of those like curses when it comes to a movie where it's taking this long to come out. Like, ooh, okay, I guess, you know. But anyway, yeah, that was Underwater. I think I have two on my list that are newly released movies that are on like streaming platforms. So gonna do those next. That I guess that's next on the list or whatever. Yeah, gotta watch more Neil Breen between that. All right, see ya.